So a lot has been made about women's portrayal in various media recently. Despite its reputation of not being as women-friendly a society as we are here, the perception is anyway, do you think women are portrayed better in anime than in domestic cartoons?
It's a very big topic, and I actually do an entire presentation on female hero journeys as part of my mythology scholarship that I do in conventions and academic conferences and film festivals and whatnot. And what I have found is that in Japanese animation, there are certain female hero journeys that are available to women that are not usually done in America. And specifically, the one I'm referring to is this sort of magical girl archetype. The idea of a woman having her own magical powers is usually problematic in American storytelling. In fact, there's quite a big deal made in the original Avatar series that what they are doing is not magic, but rather bending. And so there's all sorts of interesting archetypal hero journeys that are available in Japanese animation that are not necessarily available in American animation. That being said, Japanese culture can be rather chauvinistic, especially for an industrialized nation. And so, whereas in America, we ostensibly aspire to this notion of gender equality, we don't get there by a long shot in terms of our storytelling either in Hollywood or in animation or comics. So, fortunately, these kinds of topics are now much more publicized, which I think is good. I think awareness is what's going to change this, but there's also going to have to be some sort of institutional changes so that we don't still have all these issues about the fact that there's Black Widow isn't included on the Avengers merchandise. Showing a picture of all the Avengers on a t-shirt and Black Widow isn't there, this is ridiculous. I mean, it's 2015, right? Can we get over this already? So it is still an issue because there's still an extreme lack of parity on this subject. Thank you. You bet.
Good. So, hi, I'm Mason A.J. from the Aficionados. We've had the wonderful opportunity to not only review your work, but meet a lot of other voice actors here at MomoCon and a lot of other cons. But each of them have had very different ways how they've gotten into the voice acting career. Some by accident, some on purpose, and some just through, like you, going through their degrees. How did you get into the voice acting career?
Well, if you want the gory blow-by-blow detail of how I got into voice acting,
yes,
I actually have a podcast on voice acting called Voice Acting Mastery at voiceactingmastery.com. You can also find it on the iTunes Music Store if you look up Voice Acting Mastery or my name, Crispin Freeman. Episode 4 and 5 of the podcast, I go into all the detail about specifically how I got in, but in a nutshell, I was working as a theatrical actor in New York City. I was getting my Master's of Fine Arts at Columbia University, but I'd always been a fan of animation ever since I was young. Specifically Japanese animation had always been sort of my favorite. There was a studio in New York that was dubbing Japanese animation into English. A friend of mine had worked for them and suggested that I contact them. I got in contact with them. I sent them a copy of a radio play that I was working at Columbia University. Even though that's totally the wrong thing to send because it's not really a demo, they took pity on me, I guess, and I was able to audition for some anime shows. And that's how I started doing voiceover, which I was doing on the side when I was doing my theatrical career in New York. But then I realized that I was getting more excited about working on the animation stuff than necessarily working in theater, and that's when I decided that I needed to move to Los Angeles to get to a bigger marketplace to pursue voice acting more full-time.
Thank you.
Touching on what you just said, has the boost in the Atlanta area of filming and gaming and video game industry had any kind of ripples in what you do for a living in the voice acting industry itself, or are you still pretty much permanently locked into the West Coast right now?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not that aware of what's been happening in terms of Atlanta, in terms of its business. And to be perfectly honest, many times, if it's a gaming companies will come to Los Angeles to record voice actors because they want to access that talent pool in Los Angeles. And I may not always be aware that the game development company is based out of Atlanta. So maybe it is having an effect and I'm just not paying close enough attention. But because everything moves at such a fast pace, And especially when it comes to games, everything is so secretive. It's so difficult to figure out who I'm working for, what the project is, what even the name of my character is in real life. I just found out a game I've been working on for years. They've been telling me what my character name was, and that's totally not the character name in the game. So even if it was coming from Atlanta, there's so many different non-disclosures and secrecy that I may not even know. So unfortunately, I'm blissfully or unaware. I don't know.
To follow up on that, how has that affected your process, really not knowing the full backstory, the full story that it is you're trying to portray?
It's quite frustrating. It's quite frustrating not knowing what's going on, because as voice actors, we want to do the best job possible. And the way you do the best job possible as an actor is to have as much detail and information as possible. That's exactly what they don't want to give us. So it can be really frustrating, because it feels like, you know, you train all your life to be a Formula One race car, and then they ask you to drive the golf course. And you know that's not what they want. You know that they want you to race at 200 miles an hour, but you can't if you don't know the course. And so it is frustrating. I understand on their side that they need to keep things secretive. They're worried about people poaching their ideas. They have to control how to market their product. I get all that. But we're supposed to be their collaborators, right? We're supposed to be the people working with them. So on some level, while I have some sympathy for them, it sure makes our job as voice actors a lot more difficult. And I wish there was some way that they would feel more trusting to give us the information we need to help their project be that much better. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. We want to make their project better, and the more information we have, the better we can make it.
Can you give me 3 adjectives that the top voice actors possess?
3 adjectives that the top voice actors possess.
Or qualities.
Qualities. In adjectives.
Well, it doesn't have to be adjectives.
No, it doesn't.
3 words.
The 3 qualities that voice actors, I think, need to have to be successful is, first of all, they need to be consummate actors. Not just being able to play themselves, but being able to play all sorts of different characters, right? And to be able to play them believable. So they have to be able to play pretend so believably you want to pay them to do it, right? The second thing is they have to have flexibility. A voice actor usually, unless they've got a really distinctive voice, usually cannot get away with just playing one type of character their entire career. They usually have to have the flexibility to be able to play all sorts of different characters. And they have to be available. The video, well, not the video game, but the voiceover world in general is very fast-paced, has only become more fast-paced because of the internet and because everyone now expects you to have a home studio. So you have to be, if they call you, you have to be available. And if you are not, it goes to someone else. So consummate acting ability, flexibility in terms of your vocal qualities and in terms of your acting choices and understanding of character, and being available.
Thank you.
You bet.
What was it that made you want to become an actor?
I think what made me want to become an actor, because initially I was a very shy child. I'm still very much an introvert. I'm quite happy just being by myself. I don't need to be around large groups of people. I think what happened was when I was very young, my family was heavily involved in the opera in Chicago where I grew up. And they had always wanted me to be a kid at the opera, and I had resisted for a long time because I was so shy. Eventually, somehow, they convinced me to do it. And I fell in love with being backstage at the opera, being part of making the illusion. If you've ever been backstage at an opera, it's like a city back there. You understand why the Phantom could hide back there for years and years, because it's so massive. And so I fell in love with the idea that people could walk off the street, go up to their dressing room in the elevator, come down, and they'd look like Henry VIII. And then they'd go out on stage and do this amazing production for people. And it was so much of fun being part of making that illusion that that's what I sort of fell in love with, and that's why I enjoy acting.
So you have done a wide range of roles, and you have an extensive resume in your anime voice acting career. What out of all your roles would you say is the most difficult role you had to take on?
I think the most difficult role for me vocally is probably Alucard in the anime Hellsing. He's one of these characters I call he's a hurricane. He's a force of nature. And in order to play him properly, I need to be in a really good place vocally so I can have all these low, rich tones. And then he tends to rip people's heads off because he's a vampire, right? And when you're ripping people's heads off, that's not so relaxing on your throat, right? It sort of tenses your throat up, which means that it's difficult then to get relaxed again, to get in that low, rumbly place to make him sound all vampiric. So he's the one who gives me the most sleepless nights. Fortunately, unfortunately, I don't know, the show is now over. We've recorded all of Alucard, and unless they make an entire new show, I won't be recording any more Alucard. So I guess I won't have any more sleepless nights. But he was far and away the most challenging character for me to play.
Thank you.
Okay. Last question. How did you're talking about always being available in order to get into this business. How, when you were first starting out, did you balance the, I need to survive, but I need to be available to do what it is that you dreamed of doing?
That is the catch-22. That is the challenge. Fortunately, when I came to Los Angeles, I had enough of a buffer that I didn't necessarily have to take a 9-to-5 job in order to support myself while I was trying to pursue my voice acting. But when I was originally doing voice acting in New York, it was on the side when I wasn't doing theater, when I wasn't working as a theatrical actor. Fortunately, with the interwebs, there are all sorts of possibilities to be able to work and do work that isn't 9 to 5, because that's basically when they need you. So that's why a lot of actors in Los Angeles are waiters or waitresses, or they're bartenders. Now you can do things online. You can be virtual assistants for people, and run their email and check their web pages and stuff. If you have computer skills, this is really good, because hopefully you can leverage those computer skills to do work for people that isn't on a 9 to 5 schedule. So people have all sorts of different ways of trying to work that out, and I think there are probably more opportunities to do that kind of stuff now than there ever have been, because the computer and the internet can allow you to work from all sorts of different places. But it is a challenge. That is the catch-22 of being an actor, is that you have to do something to support yourself until the acting can support you enough.
Thank you so much.
You bet.